Dames, dolls, secrets to detect. It's the name you trust, the doll detective.
Welcome to the interrogation room, where the truth hides beneath layers of shadow, and every story is a journey into the extraordinary. Tonight we unveil a true pioneer in the world of synthetic companionship. Brian Gill is not just a businessman, he's the architect behind SiliconWives. Since founding SiliconWives in 2015, Brian has set the gold standard for luxury, craftsmanship, and customer trust in a market fraught with imitators. But Brian's influence extends far beyond elegance and exclusivity. He's a visionary who sees the future of human connection unfolding alongside innovation. From the rise of intimate doll brothels to the expanding acceptance of synthetic relationships, Brian has his finger on the pulse of this evolving landscape, championing a respectful, forward-thinking approach that blends fantasy, technology, and genuine emotional experience. Tonight, we dig deeper. Get ready. The doll detective is about to interrogate one of the most compelling characters in the synthetic companion universe. This is no ordinary conversation. It's a masterclass in vision, passion, luxury, and pioneering spirit. Welcome to the interrogation room, Brian.
Oh, thank you for having me, Detective. Looking forward to talking about the business and letting people see what it's like to run this type of business.
At SiliconWives, the focus goes beyond simply offering dolls. It's about delivering excellence and refined craftsmanship. To our listeners, what qualities come to mind when you think of a luxury doll? Brian, from your perspective, what are the defining elements that elevate a doll into the realm of luxury?
I think it's two-part. It's both the product, obviously, and the service. So it's kind of a two-part experience. Yeah, and it basically all goes back to just the overall customer experience. I'd say when I first started, the term luxury was kind of just something that I just put as it was more aspirational. This was back probably 10 years ago. But I think now in 2025, the luxury doll kind of refers to like the more high-end like silicone dolls. Maybe only Real Doll was creating it back then, but now there's the Chinese manufacturing part has really caught up, and you've got a lot of super realistic silicone, and actually STP is not too bad these days too. You know, with all the bells and whistles available, looks super realistic. So just that experience of the realism, and then on the service side, you know, the customer feeling like they're taken care of and important, and their order taken seriously, and each sort of requirement given the attention it needs to make sure it happens, and then the communication as well. So like anywhere from the status of the order while it's being made to when it ships, and then like after it arrives, typically that's when we see most of the interaction with the customer. There's pre-sale and then after sale when it arrives. You know, unfortunately, if there's like damage during shipping or something's not making sense, and they, you know, want to ask us about it, and sometimes we have to replace a doll and stuff like that. So just the whole experience, really making sure that, you know, by the end, the customer is fully satisfied with both the doll and the service.
That makes perfect sense. Luxury isn't just the doll itself, but also the experience around it. I've always appreciated how certain materials, like high-quality STPE, really give the dolls that authentic feel. There's definitely a tiered quality spectrum out there. Take IronTech's Sigafun, for example. Recently, I came across a new brand called Nianta that caught my eye, especially with their innovative carbon fiber skeleton offering reduced weight. With all the options evolving, I'm curious, what in your view truly distinguishes a premium brand at that luxury level?
The manufacturers that offer like the premium products, say like Real Lady, some other smaller brands like I really like MD Doll right now. Those high-end like silicone brands. If you have unlimited budget, that is probably the most luxury product that you can buy, like those really high-end silicone brands. It's going to look the most realistic, feel the most realistic. But then, like you said, there's different tiers to the market. So, if you don't have unlimited money to spend, at kind of like the mid-range, currently I'm really liking like SE Doll and Fun West Doll. I think they got really large catalogs, good prices, and like the product is really good as well. So I think those brands there, and then on the more lower end, maybe like Torso and stuff like that. I'm really liking Zelix currently. I think they have a really good product and a really good team. I just met with them actually, and they're really, really well-run company. The owner is really smart guy, so definitely expect to see good things from them too. But yeah, overall, I think like what you said, luxury is like kind of like a feeling. So I think those brands also provide that sort of like the unboxing experience is great, the customer experience is great when you get it. The product's well protected, so it arrives, like it did in the factory. So yeah, I would say those brands kind of encompass that sort of exclusive or premium offering.
I've heard great things about Zelix torsos and the craftsmanship from MD Doll. They're really pushing the boundaries in this shadowy world of synthetic perfection. Brands like SE Doll and Fun West Doll have also made a name for themselves, bringing their own blend of artistry and innovation. And then there's Real Lady Silicone, known for its silky feel and lifelike texture. It's like holding a secret you can't quite put your finger on. When it comes to luxury versus standard models, what features do you see as the true markers that separate the elite from the rest? For me, it's in the paint, the subtle shadows, the natural tones that breathe life into cold silicone. What other details, in your eyes, pull a doll out of the ordinary and into the luxury spotlight?
Yeah, it's definitely like the makeup style. The makeup adds, like if you've seen a doll like raw out of the silicone mold, it looks like horrible, horrible. Like the makeup is everything. So definitely like the makeup style. That's body and face makeup. It's super, super important. So the best brands will have the best makeup artists. And I think their makeup artists are one of the higher paid positions in the factories because of how important it is. And then so the look, that's makeup, and then also the feel. It's kind of like just especially like the small like tactile experience when the skin texture. I think the best brands will really have stuff that you can feel, and it'll feel much more like real skin. And then the softness as well is included in that. So I think the best silicone brands, premium brands, have really found a way to get away from that reputation that silicone is a bit harder, and they found the ways to make the right spots in the doll like super soft, especially with like implants like gel and stuff like that in the breast and butt, and then just those two things, and then the lightweight. So like the lightweight's always kind of been a trade-off between lightweight and softness because of the foam core, and then you use like a thinner layer of silicone, so that can make the doll harder. But the best brands I think right now have found a way to make the doll super like lighter and then retain the softness. So they've been trying around different materials with the foam core and stuff like that to make it stay soft but also keep the lightness. So yeah, I think that's what you kind of look for in like the best models on the market now. I would say is the combination of the realism, softness, but also like lightness. I think those three things really all their brands all have their own sort of special selling points, but I think those three things are what I look for when I'm looking at like, are these guys like serious or luxury or not?
I couldn't agree more. Realism, softness, and weight reduction really do set a luxury doll apart. My own interests are pretty eclectic, but when it comes down to it, I prefer my dolls with a darker, more mature vibe. the kind that tells a story and keeps things just a little mysterious. It's exciting to see some brands stepping up and exploring new territory, especially with these carbon fiber skeletons. That sort of innovation is putting a new twist on the feel and functionality of these dolls, almost like the next chapter in our shadowy little detective novel.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting thing. I play hockey as a hobby, so there the sticks are all carbon fiber, and they're made to flex. So the carbon fiber in the skeleton is a bit stiffer. Actually, one brand, I just went to the expo here in Shenzhen, China, and XY Doll was there. I believe it was them. They had a carbon fiber skeleton there as well, to show off at the expo, and you could kind of see side by side the old skeleton and the new one. So yeah, it is definitely quite a bit lighter. I think theirs you saved like 4 pounds. I think Nienta, they said like three or 4 kilograms, which is a lot. And then I think Nienta, I think they say they save a bit more in weight, but yeah, I mean, time will tell. I think it's great that brands are experimenting. I've talked to some other brands about it just to get what they think. Are they working on that too? They're a little bit more unconvinced about the durability of it. We'll see. It might be a trade-off between lightweight and durability, but I think eventually the technology will get there where there won't be a trade-off anymore. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it's great that customer or companies are choosing to experiment, and hopefully we can all benefit from the innovations.
Yeah, that makes sense. Every innovation's a balancing act, right? Sooner or later, they'll crack the code and get that perfect mix of weight and durability. Speaking of breakthroughs, the expo this year was incredible, like walking through the future in slow motion. From what I saw, everything from hyper-realistic silicone like real ladies' work to Iron Tech's ultra-light tech and AI-powered designs at the Shenzhen International Adult Expo really stole the spotlight. Brian, I'm curious, what caught your eye out there on the floor? Which brands or innovations stood out to you at the expo, the ones that made you stop and think, yeah, that's where things are headed?
Yeah, I mean that's the cool part about being in China. There was one in Hong Kong in August, one in Shenzhen September, and then end of November there's the much bigger one in Guangzhou, which is just maybe an hour or two drive away. So this one, the Shenzhen one, this year was quite small. It was the first year, so there wasn't too many brands there, but there was a handful. I guess the biggest booth was Iron Tech Real Lady Sigafun. They were like right front and center, couldn't miss them, and so they did like a product launch. They launched first of all the new like Oriental series, which was very beautiful dolls, and then with that like a softer new version of silicone. I think forget the exact like branding term they use. I think it was like cloud or pillow or something like that. I'm sure they'll let you know when they release it, or if they have already. But it'll come with their Oriental series. That was super soft, one of the softest silicones I've felt so far, and just the way it they had samples there, so just the way it the motion of it, I guess what I would say. So that was really cool to see. They also had an AI head, which I thought was pretty good, like definitely better than the AI box experience now. Like I think with like Vine Talk and stuff like that, I think what they're working on is definitely quite a bit better than that, and a better, more fluid customer experience. So I think they're going to be releasing that with the Sigafun brand. I think they'll experiment with it there, and then once they're satisfied with it, they'll bring it over to like Iron Tech Real Lady. But yeah, that's a pretty exciting development. So we'll see how that works out. I think they actually have a separate office here in Shenzhen, kind of an AI sort of focused office. So they're really dedicated investing in that sphere. So definitely should expect to see some big improvements there. As far as other brands go, there was XY Doll with the carbon fiber skeleton. So that was interesting to play around with. WM Doll had an interesting thing with they basically put on like glasses on the doll, like a more of like a VR screen almost, but like the screen's facing out, and on that screen were digital eyes that kind of look around. And I think it was just a prototype, but you can see how that could develop as far as like the eyes, maybe add a camera with some facial recognition, and the eyes can follow you around or give expressions to the doll. So that was kind of interesting to see. First time I've seen something like that as far as like video eyes, and I think since then I've seen some other brands come out with something similar, even the eye is like in the head and it's like a screen instead. Some very interesting developments in the kind of AI or tech add-ons to the dolls. I think those do well at the expos, so they get the attention of the passerby. So it's a good place to see that kind of stuff. I think SE Doll and FunWest Doll were there for sure, and then a couple smaller brands that I hadn't heard of. There was a kind of a domestic focus, I would say. So some of the brands were more focused on the domestic Chinese market. So they were showing their Chinese name, which I wasn't familiar with. So there's definitely a lot of people working on dolls these days, whether they sell to the West or domestically. So it was good to see.
Wow, thanks for giving us the inside scoop on what's coming down the pipeline. Those innovations sound like real game changers. I've spent some time combing through SiliconWives, and it's clear you put a lot of thought into curating your lineup. It's not just any doll that makes the cut. Can you walk us through that process? What does it take for a doll to earn a spot in your collection?
Initially, when I first started, it was quite hard to even find brands to carry. There wasn't much uh, outreach or basically it was just like the doll form, those brands. But then you go on Alibaba or DHgate at the time, and you'd see all these other brands like much cheaper, but they're using the same photos. So initially it was very, very hard because there just wasn't much information out there, and all the a lot of the brands seem to be using the same photos. So it was quite opaque, I guess, as far as like who was making what, and who was actually good to work with and who was making the the real product. I learned now that a lot of those brands were just using WM doll photos and selling the knockoff dolls. So it was much harder at the beginning to find reputable vendors. But now it's quite easy. The market is more developed. Brands are better at reaching out. So a lot of it, as far as like right now, if I were to add a new brand, they've likely been on my radar for at least a year or two. Most thing what I'll do is I'll look at customer satisfaction, product quality as well. But the easy thing to do online is just look at their reviews on like Reddit or other websites. Doll forum also helpful sometimes. YouTube, like unboxing videos, and then communication with the vendor itself, like how easy does it seem like they are to work with? Like, are they forthcoming with like product information? You'd be surprised that some brands just send you like product photos with no pricing, no dimensions, no specifications, and it's not easy to figure out like what customization options they offer as well. Like, how what robotic features do they offer? Do they offer, I don't know, hard hands, stuff like that, for example. Reputation, product quality, and communication. Those are like the three things I look for. And then product quality mostly comes from, word of mouth, and then like what their factory photos look like. And then before I moved to China, when I was back in the US, if the relationship became good, I would order like a sample doll just to be sure. And then nowadays I would just go directly to the factory and meet with them and see for myself. But you never know. At a certain point, you have to take a leap of faith and add them, and then you can always remove them. So if stuff's not working out, there's been cases where we've removed a vendor or a brand after multiple bad experiences reported by customers. So you always have that option too. So we're pretty quick to add and quick to remove if we feel that the customers aren't satisfied. So that's kind of how we go about it.
That's sharp. Sounds like you run your lineup with the same scrutiny as a top detective on a high-profile case. Honestly, I approach it from the other side just as carefully. Before I add any doll to my collection, I'm deep in the research, comparing weights, analyzing skin tones, and especially checking the LHP. There's an art to finding the right fit, and like you, I don't settle for anything that doesn't check all the boxes. In this game, details matter, and a misstep can turn a dream into a dead end.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the LHP. Just in talking with the Chinese vendors here, the reason that for some differentiation in the LHP is that, from what I've heard, is the domestic market. They really like, to use a doll front facing, like in the missionary position, whereas Western. So the LHP was kind of developed for that in mind, for the domestic customer, whereas the Western audience, likes a bit more variation and, from behind doggy style and stuff like that. So which requires maybe a more backset LHP. So yeah, initially some of the dissatisfaction with LHPs and the placement has been due to that factor. They were making more for the domestic market, but then when they switched to selling internationally, they've had to shift the LHPs back, which is interesting.
That's interesting. The demands of different markets definitely put the spotlight on LHP design. I've seen the conversation heating up in communities like the Doll Forum, too. Silicone Man's bad LHPs thread always draws attention to the brands that miss the mark. With so many names in the game these days, and innovation happening at every turn, are there any brands out there you think aren't getting the attention they deserve? Maybe some hidden gems flying under the radar, while the big players hog the limelight.
Well, yeah, I think you made a good point by mentioning how many brands there are now, and it is true as a vendor, as a reseller. I'm constantly surprised at how I'm always learning about a new brand. Every week there's on the doll forum or various websites that cover doll news. It seems like there's always a new brand popping up. So I think right now, as a new customer coming in, or even just a returning customer after a few years, it can be pretty confusing to get started. So I think a lot of brands maybe do get lost in the mix and aren't able to differentiate themselves. But yeah, as far as brands that might be overlooked or like we talked about before, it is a bit subjective. But to me, at least on like the high end side, I've been really impressed with some smaller silicone brands like XT Doll. I think they really have a lot of interesting innovations, and I've been to their factory. It's definitely small, but it's one of the best silicone factories I've been to. They've got actually a whole floor dedicated to like research and development as well, and I think their product quality is really really high end, and I think the industry agrees too. When I was there, they were definitely doing some ODM, I guess you would call it, but like manufacturing for other well-known brands because they trusted the quality of the XT Doll silicone factory. Yeah, I mean they don't have the most heads and photo sets out, and I think some of their dolls do have kind of a similar look, but I think some of their newer Western heads and stuff like that have been promising and headed in a more diverse look direction. So that's one of my smaller brand favorites. Also a big fan of MD Doll, a newer one. I mentioned them before. I think they're really the smaller team as well, but really experienced. Came from a lot of employees. They were employees at like other brands first, and kind of came together and made this brand. So I think also really new and not too many heads. Although they've been releasing them super quickly. Almost every week they have a new head coming out. But I think their offering as far as the silicone high end goes is quite good. Silicone's very soft, dolls are realistic, very good makeup as well, which is the three most important things. And they seem very easy to work with and a easygoing team. So I like those two like smaller silicone brands. And then I guess these are all kind of like newer brands. I guess that may be why I might feel like they're overlooked. It's not as big as, or not as big as they should be. But I've also really been liking what Top CY has been putting out recently. In my subjective again opinion, I think their head design is quite good. I think it's just a little bit better looking than a lot of the other brands. And also a good team. I guess those, if I had to say like overlooked luxury brands, those would be like the three I would say.
XT Doll, MD Doll, and Top CY Doll are definitely making waves. I actually have a couple of those lined up on my wish list myself. Speaking of heads, some vendors are running head design contests where you create and submit your own head design. Then the community votes on their favorite. If you win, you get a free custom head. It's such a cool way to showcase creativity and get involved.
It's a great way to get, innovation from outside the organization. So like, I think with that challenge that some of these brands face is, they're just sitting around here in China, like, just in a circle of all, the management team drinking tea, and, they're trying to create heads for the Western market, but, they're all, obviously not from that market. So they might not know exactly like what customers want there. So a lot of times, they just take the sort of like spray and pray method. Like, let's just make a bunch of heads, and then, a certain percentage are bound to sell, but then the other percentage of heads, at least we tried, just crank them out. Maybe you'll hit one. But, like that, what they're doing, getting feedback directly from the target consumer, I think can shorten that. You can more like take a more sniper approach instead of shooting everywhere. You can, to make a good head right away. So yeah, I think that's quite interesting as well, and a good way to go about it.
That makes a lot of sense. Testing the market and seeing what resonates is key. Speaking of what's popular, when it comes to customization, what trends are you seeing right now? Are there particular features, styles, or options that collectors are gravitating toward these days?
I think regarding customization, some customers care a lot, others they care way more about other things. So what has been a big hit recently is the past few years is the brands are having warehouses with pre-configured dolls in stock, ready to ship in the US and Europe. So, and those have been really quite popular. So obviously those are all pre-configured. So there's not much customization other than maybe throwing a different color wig in the box or changing the eye color out before it ships. So I would say a large portion of the customer base doesn't care too much about customization. They rather get the doll fast and have it look exactly like the photos. For the crowd that does care a lot about customization, there's two routes. You've got like the made to order dolls where you go through you got the photo set and the base model, the head and the body, and then you go through and choose hair color, eye color, skin tone, those kind of superficial things, even down to like makeup style or piercings, or some brands offer tattoos. And then the other route is going the full custom doll. Like, we work from photos and start from scratch, whether it's just a head or the full body. And we do get a decent amount of orders like that, where we just create a full custom mold from customer photos. So that's like the ultimate way to customize. You have obviously quite a bit higher price point, but you've got full control over the whole process. So we start from either like a 3D model or a clay model, and then the customer approves that, and then we move on to making the actual like fiberglass mold for the silicone or TPE, and then ultimately creating the doll. And then they've got also full say over like makeup and basically anything we can do. So some customers have gone with that route, and we've had some really, really great results as well. So yeah, you can basically customize a doll as much or as little as you'd like, depending on what you value. And most customers are happy with just the superficial customizations, or don't care at all and just want the doll fast.
Brian, I get it. Pre-configured in-stock dolls definitely appeal to those who want quality without the wait. I like how customization can go two ways, either building from the ground up or selecting from curated options to make the doll your own. Has SiliconWives ever produced exclusive dolls or limited editions that stand apart from what's generally available?
So with some factories here, we do have exclusive molds that we've worked to develop, either through, sometimes they offer and be like, hey, we've got extra time on our hands and want to try to create a custom doll for you and see how it sells, and you can offer it exclusively. So it's kind of a win-win if you find a winner and create a winner, and it helps the factory get, again, input into the design process from someone that's more Western market facing. So it kind of helps them diversify their design to different tastes. And we've had some varying success with that. We've got one or two models that do have consistent sales, but nothing that I would point to where like we only want to do exclusive dolls. And then yeah, we've had some collaboration with some popular porn stars, most notably Sweetie Fox and Eva Elfie. If you frequent porn sites, you'll probably see them close to the top of the list as far as most popular porn artists. That's been successful to a degree, not as successful as I would have liked. I think definitely learned a lot during the process. I think maybe their target market and the doll industry, buyer persona maybe isn't the exact match. Like their fans aren't exactly our target customer, so maybe a little bit of a mismatch in that. But it was still a very cool experience working with the models and designing the dolls, and you can still buy them today exclusively on our website. I think that sort of model can work out. I know a competitor, Joy Love Doll, did one with Kendra Lust in collaboration with the Zelix factory, and I think that one, from what I've heard, has been quite successful and sells well. It's probably a better match between her fans and the target buyer for a sex doll. So maybe there's more match there, and she might do a better job of promoting the doll to her audience. So I think that model can work in certain cases. It just has to be the right fit. So which I learned during the process with those two models. The other exclusive products we have come from custom doll orders. So like we'll be working one-to-one with a customer to create a custom mold for them. And so we do give them the option to keep that mold exclusive. Like if they truly want a one in the world doll, we give them the option to, like, we won't offer this doll on our website once the mold's created. But some customers, they're not too worried about that. So they're like, sure, you can, use this mold and create a photo set and offer it exclusively on your website as well, so other people can buy. So we do have some dolls like that that have come from custom orders, and now we repurpose the mold to sell to everybody. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to get exclusive drops or limited editions. I think it is good. When you're a customer looking at reseller websites, I think seeing that sort of custom effort, even if you don't buy that model specifically, it shows that the reseller is like serious in a way, and they're committed to trying that, and they've been around that stuff is just naturally accumulated, like those exclusive things. So I think it's a good signal to sellers that you're trustworthy. But as far as like huge success with it, I don't think we've had it. But they're all always fun projects and interesting to do. So we're going to keep doing it, of course, and then maybe one will be popular, super popular eventually. I think it is a good thing to do.
To all the collectors out there tuning in, if exclusivity is your game, keep an eye on those unique molds from SiliconWives. Okay, so, Brian, do you think there's a disconnect between how dolls are marketed, East versus West? Are there challenges or opportunities that come from those different approaches?
Uh, yeah, I would say less and less so each year. The disconnect, these brands are getting more sophisticated in their attunement to the Western market, I guess. Like they're engaging a lot more with the communities in like doll forum, or even some of these brands now, they have got like their own Discord servers now, which are super active and have a lot of members now, all discussing also like ideas for what they want to see, and then feedback on the products that they own. So really, really great feedback loops for the brands. So I think, yeah, there was definitely a bigger disconnect in years prior, but now, the I would say it's definitely less so. In speaking to the brands, but they're definitely still they definitely still feel like there's a disconnect. Like when they're quite eager to speak to Western customers and Western resellers, just to glean any sort of insights they can into the mind of the target customer. So yeah, I would say they probably feel like it could always be better, but I think it's much better than it has been in years prior. There's just so many, they've run so many different, you know, experiments with different heads, and like the sales data over the years has come back. So, the sales data tells the ultimate story as far as like what people are actually buying. So they can, there's enough history there where there's, they kind of know about like what sells well and what's important. But they're definitely always on the lookout for what's next and what's going to be the new edge. One place I say where there might be a disconnect is not so much like the typical target customer in the West. They've pretty much nailed down that persona per se, or the different personas of who's buying the full dolls. But I think maybe the disconnect is, maybe I would say, like the younger generation, because the younger generation in the West, they're not good target buyers, honestly. Like they don't have as much money as on average as the older generations. They live in smaller places, or they have more roommates, or they live with family. All those things are not very conducive to full size doll ownership. So I think in the coming years, a focus will be on how to connect more with that type of consumer. So I think you'll start to see, and you already do start to see, more emphasis on like torsos and just smaller like masturbator type products to kind of help that, give that customer base what they're looking for, but in a smaller package, so that they can be more discreet about it and easier on the budget. And then I think maybe we'll also see more like experiments with like fantasy video game type dolls or products, because I think that is more of an interest in that generation. So more maybe more novelty too. I think that, I don't know the numbers behind this, but anecdotally, I think that generation has been, they've grown up with the internet, so they've seen a lot of adult content online already. So they might be looking for even more novelty when it comes to like buying the toys, and get more experimental with like fantasy stuff, and their interests with movies and media and video games and stuff like that is definitely more aligned with the fantasy. So that's my hunch, but we'll see how the industry caters to that cohort as they become more bigger buyers and a bigger share of people who we're selling to. Yeah, so we'll see. I think that, but that's where I would say, like, if a disconnect exists, I can see it being that there right now.
Sounds like the East-West divide is slowly fading into the shadows, with today's younger buyers in the U.S. caught between tighter wallets and shrinking privacy. In that light, tell me, what's the experience like digging through the treasures at SiliconWives.com? What sets their game apart in this smoky, crowded market?
We look at the customer experience kind of, we take a look at it in two parts. There's like the pre-sale customer experience and the after sale. So both are equally as important. So like on the pre-sale side, try to focus a lot on information and like education. Just there's, like I mentioned before, there's just so much to learn before you make your first purchase. And we don't want the customer to make a mistake of just, you know, looking at product photos and like, oh, this doll, is super attractive, and then, just kind of buying based on that initial desire, because you're not really, when you're buying like that, so, which is fine. It actually works out for some people, but you're not looking exactly on how much the doll weighs, and thinking it through, like how are you going to take care of this doll when it arrives. So we try to focus a lot on educating the customer, like what it actually looks like when you own a doll. Like what can you expect with taking care of it? What each feature looks like selecting which extra add-ons do you want. We try to include a lot of video and text content as well on the website, and then through our email list as well. Like, so if, typically what someone who's interested in buying will do is they'll come to our website, take a look around, learn from there, but then they'll be prompted to join our newsletter. So we use that as a vehicle as well to educate the customer before they buy. So when someone joins the email list, they get kind of like a curriculum of stuff to know before buying, and then typically we see people buy after reading some of those educational emails, or not buy. I think it's fine too if they don't decide it's not for them. There's definitely a lot of smaller products and stuff like that could satisfy their needs, but it's better for us. It's easier for us if, in the long term, if the customers that are not a great match don't end up buying, which is fine, because if you're unsatisfied with the product or the experience when you get it, it's not fun for either party. So that's fine too. Just making ourselves easily to reach in the pre-sale experience. Like, we do have the phone number, which is a bit harder now that I live in China. Typically it's been me who's been answering the phones. I like the frontline experience. I feel like I learn a lot from customers about what they care about, what they're looking for when they buy, what pain points you're solving for them. So you hear a lot of interesting customer stories that really help as far as knowing our target customers. So yeah, I try to answer the phones as much as possible. Now that with the time zone difference, typically I'll try to return calls in the evening and on the US time when I wake up. So yeah, that's been super good as far as interfacing with customers. I think, as much as email and live chat and static information on our website is, phone is by far the best medium of connecting with customers and answering all their questions and showing that we're a trustworthy company. That's also a huge part of the pre-sale customer experience, is gaining the customer trust. So, education and stuff like that is a big part of it, and also making sure that we're transparent as far as reviews and what we're selling. So yeah, that's kind of how we approach the pre-sale experience. And then after sale, the first thing is just communication is very important, I think, especially going back to the trust thing. It's not too frequently that a lot of people will spend $1,000+ on an online transaction, especially for someone that can afford the sex doll. It typically is on average an older cohort, so they didn't grow up online shopping, so it can be quite a stressful experience for some people, who, especially their first time ordering. So they just want to be sure that first of all, that the order went through, and that we got confirm all the details, and that we are actually going to build the right product. So that sort of communication, and then also answering quickly. There's, from a customer experience perspective, when you've sent someone a lot of money anonymously online, and then they take a long time to respond to you, that sort of waiting period can be pretty grueling and stressful when you sent that type of money. So we try to be pretty prompt with answering email communication, just to kind of take that stress away, and then keeping them updated on the production and the shipping as well. And then I guess it's almost like 3 points. It's pre-sale before it ships, and then after it's received. So after it's received, we have our satisfaction guarantee. So especially in the first few days of receiving the doll, I would say most times we never hear from the customer. They're happy to just do their own. They've got the doll, they're satisfied, and some happy customers do leave us some really nice reviews, which is great. But I think you mentioned in the earlier in the call, detective, that oftentimes it's the dissatisfied customers that are the most vocal. So just making sure that we're very responsive to unsatisfied customers as well too, whether it's sending them, just giving them more information on how to use the product, or helping them with repairs, or sending replacements. That's all really important as well. So reseller perspective, that aspect has been interesting for us to try to solve, because everyone with this type of product, everyone uses it in their own way. So as a company like that's trying to be profitable long term, it is always better to keep the customer happy. So although it was painful at the beginning when we were just getting started, now we know that it's better to err on the side of doing too much, as far as like, do they want to refunding the customer or sending a replacement. We find that in the long term, it actually is better for us to just kind of take care of the customer, instead of trying to save a little bit here and there by sending them a repair kit, when probably like just replace the doll. Yet it'll pay dividends in reviews, or just honestly, like, save time for our customer service agent. She's not spending time going back and forth with an unhappy customer. It's better to just either refund them, or send a replacement, so that everybody's happy, and then they kind of gets rid of the back and forth.
I like how you break it down, helping buyers navigate the order, keeping them in the loop as the magic comes together, and the all-important aftercare that keeps the relationship alive. The personal touch with phone calls definitely adds a layer of trust you don't get in the shadows of online chat. Looking ahead, what do you think will define the next phase of luxury in this game? What's the next step beyond where we are now?
So I think initial next wave, we'll just see like better physical appearance and experience. So small variations to the silicone material to make it softer, or small variations to the molding process to make the skin feel and look more realistic. Makeup's always improvements to the skeleton and the inner core, to make it both lighter, easier to move, fix the customer experience in that way. Just kind of iterations on improvements on what's already there. Further improvement of the physical aspect. I think that's what the brands here are best at doing. I think that should be their core focus. I think the AI, and I mean, in the next wave, the far future, obviously the industry is headed towards kind of fully autonomous, sort of humanoid cyborg things, where the AI, robotics, and physical side, those kind of three things all come together, and in a consumer ready way, where it doesn't always break or need maintenance. It'll be I think we're far from it, but that's eventually where it's headed. And sort of in between that and like further improvement of the physical side, I think in the medium to term, I think we'll see from talking to a lot of the company owners, they feel that AI will probably be like included more and more in this kind of like next wave of dolls, but it depends on in what application and where it comes from. You see the brands take different approaches. Some are working, devoting a lot of resources to create their own AI, or other brands, and we'll see what plays out. I think this could be the smarter way, are focusing more on what they're good at, which is improving the physical aspects of the doll, making that as realistic as possible, while relying on AI development from the outside. You can see if you compare, not maybe in the more adult subjects like bedroom talk and stuff like that, but if you compare the experience talking with like a mainstream AI, like a ChatGPT or a Grok or a DeepSeek, versus what has been developed from the sex doll industry in-house. Obviously the sort of Silicon Valley big tech AIs are much further ahead as far as how the interaction feels. They'll just be so much further ahead. So all these brands that are developing stuff in-house, it'll be kind of all for naught because these AIs can do it, and you can just it's just software, so you can build some simple hardware interface within the doll and plug in this use an API or something to use the better AI. So that's definitely kind of in the next wave. I think we'll start to see more and more of that. I think the robotics side is much more difficult due to the physical nature of it. You can't just send a software update. You have to physically repair or improve it. So I think that'll be a tougher sell as far as making it consumer ready, so it doesn't require too much maintenance and care, and also pushing updates obviously becomes kind of impossible. So that'll be a tougher sell, I think. But I think AI is kind of the next step forward. So we'll see what kind of a lot of people are working on it. So we'll see what form it takes when it reaches when it comes to the market. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it takes shape, and it's always fun to get your hands on a new product and try it out. I've got right here the initial AI box that I think this is Vine. It's called Vine Talk now, but I forget what it was called the first time. So I always make sure to get my hands on it and play around with it, just to make sure I'm up to date on everything. But yeah, I think right now it's just not there yet, but the next wave will certainly have more and more AI built in for sure.
So we're seeing improvements in appearance and physical specs. And then the big breakthrough with AI, robotics, and all the future enhancements that could change the game entirely. Before we close, do you have any interesting stories or behind-the-scenes moments you'd like to share with our listeners? The kind of stories that don't usually make it into the official line.
Yeah, so one of the more interesting media experiences I had was back early on. I think I had just been a couple years, and the business was and the industry as well was really starting to grow and get more popular, and get a lot of media attention. I think it was back in 2018. There was a comedy show from Comedy Central. I forget the full name, but it was like something with Jenna Friedman, and I think they only did about 2 or 3 episodes. They did the first episode with popular character John McAfee, who was living in South America at the time, and they went down there and interviewed him, what he was up to, and then somehow I became their second episode, where they basically purchased $3 for the show, and then they gave the dolls to a local university in New York area, and then their theory was that, again, it's a comedy show. Their theory was that sex dolls could make an impact in reducing the rate of rape on campus. So they were essentially gave the $3 to a fraternity to take care of for I think it was like a month or a few weeks, and just filming how that process played out. So you'd see like they take the dolls to a party, and the people at the party are like reaching in to grope the dolls, but then the guys on campus or that have the dolls start to feel protective of the dolls, so they kind of in a way teaches them how to maybe be a gentleman or something like that. I'm not sure what the actual conclusion was. Did they conclude that it could make a dent? In any way, it was funny, but it was interesting for me as they came to my office I had my office in Hoboken, New Jersey at the time. They came there with I've up until this point I'm just was a guy on my laptop, building this business with some help from the outside. But they came to my office, huge production crew, probably like 15 people. They brought the $3 with them, so they brought them in through the office, and we had this big conference room, and they had this big official interview. So that was quite the experience for me at the time. It's a lot more media attention than I'd ever gotten. So if you wanna laugh and you're curious to see how it ended up, look up like Comedy Central show with Jenna Friedman. You can find the full episode and see my interview. I think I look a little bit younger, but basically the same. So that was a funny experience.
That's awesome. You even made it to Adult Swim with Jenna Friedman. For anyone curious, we've dropped the link in the description so you can catch that cameo and get a good laugh. Makes this whole conversation a little more fun, doesn't it? It's been quite the journey diving into the world of SiliconWives, from the evolving customer care to the future tech on the horizon, and even some unexpected moments in the spotlight. Before we let you go, Brian, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so I guess in conclusion, just want to say thanks for, first of all, Detective, for having me on and giving me this opportunity to speak directly to the sex doll community. I don't think there's too many people doing format like this, so I think it's great. One of the things I try to do in the industry is, where I think where resellers add the most value is giving customers a, trustworthy place to buy the products. It could be a tougher experience to buy directly from China. There's not exactly the same filters for creating listings on, some e-commerce websites like Alibaba or Amazon.com. So there can be a lot of, not great products out there, and customers can feel burned a lot and stuff like that. So, I look at my job, and the purpose for this company is to provide that space where, people can come buy a doll, feel like they got the right information, feel like they, learn something and can make an informed buying decision and have considered all the options, and are given a nice menu of trustworthy quality brands to choose from that have been vetted and visited. I've really done the groundwork as far as making sure that the products that we offer are up to par, and that I'm confident in the quality that they're offering each customer. So we kind of do a lot to defend the customer, to protect them from bad experiences and the worst case like scams. So we've committed a large portion of my life to this. I've moved to China to be closer to the industry, and it's been, first of all, a super fun and interesting experience. The technology is super great. The dolls are getting more and more realistic every day. So first of all, I thoroughly enjoy it, but also I've uprooted my whole life to kind of go further into this industry and make sure that we're providing like the most first person up to date information that we can to customers, so that they can provide a make a confident buying decision and ultimately have a good experience. So I just want to say also, like, thank you to all the people that have purchased from us, and all the customers we had, happy or unhappy, or we learn lessons from all customers. So every little bit of feedback helps. So thank you also to other customers who've sent us feedback. It's encouraged us and helped us keep going. The enthusiastic customers and the customers that haven't had a great experience, they've been just as valuable, teaching us, helping us get better and provide a better service. So it's been a super rewarding past 10 years, and can't wait to see what the next 10 years brings. Should be a very interesting space to be a part of.
Thanks again, Brian, for joining us in the interrogation room and bringing us all deep inside your world of luxury dolls. You're free to go.
Yeah, no, thank you as well for having us. It's my pleasure. Hopefully, it's not too often I get to ramble on about this. Everybody likes to talk about themselves, so it's been very fun to kind of let out a lot of this stuff I've been learning the past year here or so in China, and tell somebody and get it out to the world. So yeah, thank you a lot for the platform, and looking forward to watching your channel grow.
And with that, the case is closed. We've peeled back the layers, seen the gears turning behind the scenes, and uncovered what's next in this shadowed world of luxury dolls. Thanks to Brian for pulling back the curtain and sharing the story. Until the next inquiry, keep your eyes sharp and your standards higher. This is the Doll Detective signing off.